Hello peeps, welcome back to Big Deck Player with me, Matt Sparks. This week's video we're taking a look at a priest deck. It's been quite a while since I have featured a priest deck on this show, and I thought it was about time. I like playing priests, it's one of my favourite classes to play. It's called the Anti-Meta Control Priest. So here is the deck. It's got some old favourites as well as some other bits and bobs to make it a bit more interesting. I really like this deck. I'm quite a fan of the Control Warrior, and so when I found a Control Priest I was like, this is a deck that I need to try out. I love playing priest decks, so I figured I'd give it a try, and I've really enjoyed playing it, so I'm going to show you what's in the deck. To start off, we have 2 Circle of Healing. Now these are one of the ways of AoE when combined with Organized Soul Priest, which we also have 2 of. Although, to be honest, most matches I've found that Circle of Healing is actually, so far, I've been using it for actually healing stuff, to keep stuff alive, to make better trades. And because it's 0 cost, it means I can do that very effectively, especially when we have the 2 Injured Blade Masters on the board. Because that does 4 damage on the battle cry to itself. So if you can get both out and then use a Circle of Healing, that means they're both at full health, which is fantastic. We have 2 Holy Smite. Now it's unusual to see Holy Smite, well it is to me anyway, in these kind of decks, but I understand why they're there. 2 damage for 1 mana isn't fantastic particularly. But it can be useful to get rid of some stuff on the board early game, because you know, stuff like Knife Jugglers, Micro Machines, Undertakers all have 2 health and can become pretty nasty if you don't get rid of them fairly quickly. So Holy Smite's pretty useful for that. Also, we have 2 Wild Pyromancers, so it combos quite nicely with those too, should you have anything with 3 health. We also have 2 Power Word Shield, also very nice to combo with Wild Pyromancer, giving it extra health, meaning that it lasts a bit longer, because obviously it does damage to all minions, including itself. So putting a Power Word Shield on it means that this bit has a bit more survivability. Giving it 4 health means that, you know, you can actually heal it. 2 Northshire Clerics. This is pretty much your main source of card draw, so you want to kind of keep these alive and not play them willy-nilly. For example, you don't want to play these sort of like turn 1 or turn 2 without any kind of protection against stuff like druids, mages, warriors, pretty much anything really. So I normally only play these if I've got a powered shield that I can buff it on the same turn to give it 5 health. 5 health is a bit more difficult for them to get rid of, and if there's nothing else on the board, they'll probably just leave it as it is. But if you don't have a powered shield in your hand, then don't play your Northshire Cleric, because it will die straight away. The only time you might want to play this is if you've got something on the board that's already damaged and you can get a guaranteed card draw. Ideally you want to get 2 cards out of Northshire Cleric to make it even worth playing. As I say, this is your only source of card draw, so if you mess this up and you lose both your Northshire Clerics early, you're going to probably find it's quite difficult to continue. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the 2 Wild Pyromancers. We have 2 Shadow Word Death. There's no Shadow Word Pain in this deck, but we do have Shadow Word Death, which is pretty useful, especially for late game. There's because we've got no big game hunter, so keeping a Shadow Word Death for late game stuff. Dr. Boom almost always gets played nowadays, so this is pretty useful for getting rid of him. Ragnaros, Giants, you know, any of that kind of stuff really. We have we have 1 Thought Steal, so I would almost always try and get this in your opening hand if you can, because there's only 1 of them. So if you get it in your opening hand, then keep it. If you don't, I would suggest you try and mulligan for it, but it's difficult to do. I mean, we've got stuff like Dark Cultists, Injured Blade Masters, Wild Pyromancers, Northshire Clerics. You know, there's plenty of stuff that you can get to in your opening hand that will be okay, but Thought Steal, because there's only 1 of them, ideally I guess you want to try and get this fairly early on, just so that you get an idea of what kind of deck your opponent is playing. Obviously, if you're playing against a Warlock and you do a Thought Steal and you get a couple of Giants, then you know what to expect. But sometimes you don't really know what to expect until sort of mid-game, and it's better to get an idea earlier on if you can. 2 Dark Cultists, fairly standard for most priest decks nowadays. Get these from Naxxramas. These are pretty solid. 2 Injured Blade Masters, as I mentioned before, for the combo with the Circle of Healing, buffing these guys up. Sometimes it's... Again, this is another one that I'd like to play this on turn 2 if you've got the coin. Playing this on turn 2 can be really, really effective if you've got a Circle of Healing in your hand. But otherwise, playing this on turn 2, if you're against a mage or a warrior or a warlock or most things, because you'll only have 3 health, you know, you're prone to Fiery War Axe, Frostbolts, Dark Bombs, all that kind of stuff. So I generally only play these if I can heal them. 1 Shadow Madness. So this is great for anything that has Death Rattle. And if you can take control of it and then kill it on that turn, you get that Death Rattle, which can really bug your opponent, especially if it is Loot Hoarder and they're running low on cards. So yeah, it's a really good card for annoying your opponent. We have 2 Organized Soul Priest, again combos with the Circle of Healing for board clear. I haven't had a huge amount of need for it so far, because I've been able to control the board to a point where placing an Organized Soul Priest and then playing a Circle of Healing is only going to kill like maybe 1 other minion. So I've not really had to worry too much. In fact, I haven't had to play Organized Soul Priests that much at all. But that's partly because I'm not a huge fan of the Organized Soul Priest. Even though it's a great card, I just personally prefer healing stuff rather than doing damage. Yeah, it's a great card, and as I say, comboed with the Circle of Healing, will kill a lot of things with like 4 or less health, so it's pretty cool. Then we have 1 Holy Nova. This will deal 2 damage to everything and restore 2 health to all your characters, so that's pretty nice, including your hero. Using this in combo with the 2 Blade Masters can be pretty nice, especially if you have a Northshire Cleric on the board, because that way they get healed and you get card draw. 2 Sludge Belchers. These are the only 2 taunts that you have, so use them wisely. I find that playing the Sludge Belchers, most of the time I play them to kind of stall my opponent a little bit, just until I get some better cards in my hand. We have a Vol'jin, a legendary. I understand not everyone's likely to have this, but it's in the deck. Vol'jin is 5 mana, which is pretty nice. So you can use this against handlocks to really annoy them when they put their 10 health Drake out, or even their Giants, whatever. That's pretty nice. It's pretty effective. And because they go down to 2 health, they're prone for Holy Novas, which is also very cool. We have 1 Light Bomb. This is kind of like your break glass in case of emergency card. If you start getting a little overwhelmed, say your opponent has a Ragnaros and a couple of Giants on the board, it might be worth Light Bombing, because it does the damage equal to the minions attacked. Most of these cards that you have in this deck, bar the Wild Pyromancer, have probably got more health than they do attack. So your things should be fairly safe. So you should be able to clear the board with a Light Bomb. We have 1 Cabal Shadow Priest. The only thing I don't like about the Cabal Shadow Priest is that it's 6 mana, and quite often anything that comes out after kind of 6 mana is not likely to have 2 or less attack. But if your opponent has just put out a Dr. Boom, stealing one of his little bombs might prevent you from losing stuff on your side. Also at 6 mana we have a Sylvanas Windrunner. I think we've had Sylvanas in a few decks recently, and I said that I haven't really seen her being used to her full potential, and in regards to her death rattle. And I think most people try and play around it as best they can. We spoke about Dr. Boom earlier, and we have our own Dr. Boom. If you don't have Dr. Boom and you're thinking of crafting a legendary, Dr. Boom is almost in every single deck at the moment. So I would suggest, if you don't have him, that he's first on your priority list of legendaries to craft, because he just pops up everywhere. He's a great card. 7/7 for 7 isn't great particularly. I mean, you can get a is it a war golem? I think it is, which is a 7/7 for 7. But he has the boom bots. He is a little bit prone for big game hunter, but you've got a couple of targets for big game hunter in this deck. So if they bring out one, you're safe with the other. Most people won't run 2 big game hunters. At 8 mana we have Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Because it's Ragnaros. He's the other target for big game hunter. The randomness can be a bit annoying. You kind of hope that he's going to hit certain targets. You guarantee that he'll hit something else. But that's just the way that Rag works. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much because he's still either helping you clear the board and control the board, or he's doing damage to your enemy opponent's face. So yeah, you can't really sniff at 8 damage either way. And then finally, also at 8 mana, we have Sneed's Old Shredder. This can win you the game. A 5/7 for 8 isn't particularly good, but he's immune to big game hunter because that only does 7 attack and above, so you should be fairly safe. Plus, it's going to summon a random legendary minion. Now, I've had some pretty good results so far with Sneed, but I realise it is random, and I have just been a bit lucky. So that's the deck, the Anti-Meta Control Priest. I really enjoy playing this deck. It's not this kind of deck that I have played really before with Priest. As I say, most of the time for my control decks I'm usually playing a warrior, but I really like playing Priest, so I'm going to play this a whole bunch more, I think, because I've really enjoyed it. So as per usual, I would suggest that you head on over to Hearthstone through the link in the description, so you can go and check out the write-up that this guy's done. It's a really good write-up. I really think you should check this deck out because it's a lot of fun. If you do try out this deck, let me know how you get on. If you make any videos of using this deck, then feel free to link them to me on my Twitter. I'll be sure to check them out. I shall see you next week for some more Big Deck Playa. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.